Hello guys, and welcome back to Brown Boy Reading. I hope you all had a wonderful new year and that your new year resolutions are going really well. One of my new year resolutions this year was to stick to a schedule for filming and actually post regularly on this channel, and I'm hoping I can stick to it. So if you see this video up there, you know I'm sticking to it. For today's video, I thought we would do my December wrap up before we move on to the 2018 highlights. You know, I am hoping to get to that this month, and I already have like my lists ready and just have to film it, edit it, and then upload it. So wish me luck. December was a really good reading month for me, not just in the fact that I read 9 books, but also because the books that I read were like really good books. There were some okay books, I guess, but for the most part the books that I read were really good. Like, I enjoyed my time reading them, and you know, I hope this year turns out to be as good as December was. So without any further ado, let's get on to the 9 books that I read in the month of December. The first book that I read in the month of December was The Best Man by Kristin Higgins. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. It's a contemporary romance novel, and I was kind of in the mood for a contemporary romance novel. And this book had been on my radar a lot because at some point, I read the prologue of it, and the ending kind of intrigued me. And I don't think it's going to be a spoiler if I say it, but so we have a character, Faith, and she's at a wedding day when, you know, her fiance comes out as gay. And I don't know, I just found this premise very interesting, so when I was in the mood for romance, I thought I'd pick this book up and see, you know, if the rest of the book lived up to the prologue, in a sense. Well, it did and didn't. It was a fairly enjoyable romance novel. Like, I knew what to expect going in, like set in a very small town, you know, with small town drama and everything. So you know what you are getting when you're getting into a book like this. So, but I enjoyed it. I love the characters. I think our main character, Faith, was a fairly likable character, and our hero Libba was a very good gentleman. I mean, the only problem that I had was with the storyline of the gay fiance, basically, but let's not get into it. That's just not needed because it was a straight romance. I got what I went in for. It was a good time. There you go. The next book that I read in December was The Scorpio Races by Maggie Stiefvater. This book had been on my radar since I finished reading the Raven Boys Quartet, and I didn't have much interest in reading the Shiver Quartet because I read the first book. It was okay, but I never had much interest in to continue on. But I really wanted this one because I've heard a lot of good things about it. You know, it's highly rated on Goodreads, and I have to say I really like the concept of it. It's set on this island where every year during a certain time, these seahorses, these, you know, savage horse-like beasts who thirst for blood, basically, kind of come out of the ocean, and these people on the island kind of train these horses and they have a race at the end of the season. So it was a really good premise to begin with, and the 2 characters that we follow, Sean and Puck, I think, like, they had their own interesting conflicts. They had their own, you know, they were dynamic characters. So I have to say it was a really good one. It just didn't blow me away like Raven Boys did, so I did give it 4 out of 5 stars, but not a bad book. Like, Maggie Stiefvater really has a knack for world building. So the next book that I read in the month of December was Ijeawele, or A Feminist Manifesto in 15 Suggestions by Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie. I really hope I pronounced that right. Anyway, I gave this book, you know, this short book, 5 out of 5 stars because I really enjoyed it. This one deals fairly with feminism, and I loved it, and I recommend it to each and every one because it's very simple to read. It's a very simple book, but I think it packs a lot of punch, and it is very simple in its messaging, and everyone can understand where the author is coming from and what she's trying to convey. So, you know, if you have any friends who are not into feminism, give it to them. Maybe it'll change their mind. Or not. Who knows? Okay, so the next one is, I'm pretty sure it was in most of the people's TBR for December, or most people's TBR this year if they didn't manage to read it in December, but it was the third book in the Dark Artificer series by Cassandra Clare, Queen of Air and Darkness. I read this book so fast. Like, the moment it came out, I got it on Kindle because I live in a country where we don't really get all the published books. It's kind of hard to go out to the store and, you know, pick it up. But what a ride. Oh my goodness. Dark Artificer series has honestly been one of Cassandra Clare's best work so far, in my opinion. Like, I love it more than I loved the Infernal Devices series, which I love really very much. So the characters are just so interesting, the family dynamic, and the amount of diversity in this one. And I love this one specifically because it mirrored real life right now so much. It was kind of eerie, almost. And I am so happy that this book concluded. I mean, sure, it had its problems, but I didn't mind them as much because the overall enjoyment that I had with the story was so good. I stayed up like late at night reading this story, so I honestly, like, all the problems aside, this book is amazing. So the next book that I read was Beauty Queens by Libba Bray. This book was a hoot. Like, seriously, this book was a hoot. I loved it. It was so much fun, so much cheese, so much whimsy. It was just, I don't know, it kind of felt very nostalgic in a way. I don't know of what, but I feel like I grew up watching stories like these. So going into Beauty Queen and following Adina's adventures and all the Miss Teen Dream pageant contestants, the whole thing was just so much fun. I cannot recommend this book enough. It was just like out there. And I also listened to it on audiobook, which added to my enjoyment, I think, because the author actually narrated the audiobook and she did a spectacular job of it. And this book is queer as hell, as feminist as hell, and I just really loved it. I've only read one Libba Bray book before this, and that was The Great and Terrible Beauty. Didn't enjoy it as much, but I really did enjoy this one. I read the next book because I saw it on one of my favorite booktubers' favorite of the year list, and also because I've been meaning to pick up a book by this author. The book was And Every Morning the Way Home Gets Longer and Longer by Frederick Bachman. This book was short, and while I liked the questions presented in it, it didn't make me cry at all, as it probably did most people. I don't know. It just didn't. Like, I liked the execution of the story. I liked the simplicity of the story. I liked the grandfather, grandson relationship. Like, it was so sweetly done, but it didn't have the impact that I was hoping it would have. I think that was one of the biggest reasons why it was kind of a 3-star read for me, because I went into it hoping a little bit more than what the book had to offer. So that was kind of a letdown. Yeah, but it was still a good story, and I'm kind of hoping to read Frederick Bachman's longer novels. I think I have Beer Town on my TBR list, so I'm hoping to get to that very soon. Now, the next book was a book that I wanted to read the moment it came out, but I didn't, even though I got the ebook of it the moment it came out, because I don't know, I was kind of apprehensive about getting back into the story and finding out maybe, I don't know. I was kind of scared that I might not like it as much. And honestly, I didn't have to be scared because I absolutely loved it. The book I'm talking about is Muse of Nightmares by Laini Taylor. This is the second book in the Strange the Dreamer duology. Like, what can I say about this book? It was just so beautiful. Like, Laini Taylor added so many layers to all her characters, and the world building was just spectacular. I don't want to say anything that may spoil the book for you, because this book deserves to be read without knowing anything. It's a joy to read it and discover it along the way. It is just so freaking magical. And as we all know, Laini Taylor's writing is just top of the world, obviously. So you will not be disappointed. Like, this book just stole my heart. It stole my breath. It stole my imagination. it is just amazing. Just give it a try. If you haven't read Stranger Dreamer, go read it and then read this book, because both of them are just amazing. They are like one of the best young adult fantasy novels I ever read. The next one is one of the most highly praised romance novel that came out this year, and I really wanted to read it because it sounded interesting since the moment I saw the synopsis of it on an Instagram somewhere. It's the Kiss Quotient by Helen Hoang. I loved the story. It was super sweet. I love Stella. Stella is amazing. Stella can do no wrong. Like, Stella is just, she's such a sweetheart. And Stella and Michael together are just so freaking cute. I think it deserved all the praise that it got. And if you're in the mood for a good romance novel, I would definitely recommend The Kiss Quotient. The last book that I read in the month of December was one of my highly anticipated reads. I found out about this book when I was just browsing my library, and I read the synopsis of it, and the synopsis felt like the book was written specifically for me, so I had to read it. The book I'm talking about is One Day in December by Josie Silver. This book follows our main character Laurie, who sees this guy, Jack, on a bus stop through her window on a December night. That's where the title comes from. And they had this instant connection, but nothing happens because the bus drives off and she doesn't see Jack again. And she waits, I think she spends like a year or so trying to find him, but nothing happens until one day Jack shows up as her roommate's boyfriend. So yeah, conflict. This book the premise is very interesting. Like, it's made from my heart. Like, honestly, it's made for me. Like, I've fallen in love with so many people on transits that it's not even funny. I really wanted this book to be good. And it was a decent story. Like, I'm not saying it was bad completely. I gave it 3 out of 5 stars, but it just wasn't what I was expecting. And especially the ending, it felt a little too rushed for me. And one of my biggest problems with the book was the fact that I did not like Jack at all. He was an asshole, and I did not want Laurie to end up with him. So you can see why I wouldn't like this love story, where I don't want the main characters to end up together. So, yeah. Anyway guys, that was my December wrap up. Let me know down below if you read any of the books that I mentioned today and what you thought about it. 2018 was an amazing reading year for me, personally, and I will be coming up with videos with the 2018 list very soon, so be on the lookout for that. And that's it for today. Keep on reading, guys. Bye.